Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more Feed the Beast Beyond. Last episode, we were working on some early game power generation. We started out with our coal generator and then moved on towards the end of the episodes to the oil generator, which is taking all of the canola that we put into the canola press, turning it into oil, and then using that oil for power for our crusher and our powered furnace, which are currently acting as our early game ore doubling system, turning all of our ores into twice the number of ingots. And since the end of last episode, I've been mostly doing more of the same. I did some more mining, both here and over in the nether to get more nether quartz, and I've also set up a little bit of a canola farm over here. Not a big one, just a little 5x5 canola farm with some water in the center. I went around, grabbed all of the canola seeds that I could find in the nearby area. I do still have some left over in my inventory, but now we can quite easily go ahead and harvest all of this canola and hopefully have a nice renewable source of energy for all of our work over here. We are going to have to automate that at some point, and we might get around to doing that at some point in today's episode, but there are other things that I want to work on, so it might not happen until the next episode, but the first thing that I want to work on in today's episode, before we get started with any of the other things that I have planned for today, I want to do something that I probably should have done at the end of the last episode, and that is make the fermenting barrel. This is a really easy way to increase the amount of power that you can get from your oil generator. All it takes is 6 logs, 1 wooden casing, which is just a bunch more wood in stick, log, and plank form, 1 canola, and then 1 of these crystals, which is just some iron in front of the atomic reconstructor, and this is going to turn all of our canola oil into normal oil and increase the output of the oil generator from 40 RF per tick to I think 60 or maybe 80 redstone flux per tick. And so let me quickly grab 1 piece of iron here. And actually, do we have some of those crystals left over from last episode? We do. Let me go ahead and grab those, as well as some oak wood. We've already got the canola. Do we have any sticks and planks? We've got planks. Sticks are super easy to make. And so if we go ahead and do something like this and then craft ourselves a wooden casing, I think that is pretty much everything we need to make the fermenting barrel. Nice. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to grab some more of these fluid conduits that we made in the last episode, and we're going to put down the fermenting barrel right about there. We're going to right click on the connector to the oil generator because we now want this to be disabled. We don't want any of the canola oil going into the generator. We want all of it going straight through to the fermenting barrel. Thankfully, the fermenting barrel does not require any power whatsoever, so it should continue to work even when we're low on power, which is nice. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and put down the fluid conduit right about there. This one we want to set to extract, and we want it to be active without a redstone signal. And then this one we of course want to set to insert so it can receive all of the oil from the fermenting barrel. Let me quickly get rid of this. And so now, if we put all of this new canola we've got into the canola press, that should begin turning it into the canola oil. It should go straight through to the fermenting barrel. That fermenting barrel is going to turn the canola oil into normal oil, which is going to go into the oil generator and begin producing more redstone flux per tick. It would seem right now we've got a little bit of canola oil stuck in the oil generator there, so I'm going to quickly break that, and then if I stick it back down, that should now be filling up with normal oil, but it's not. It's got a little bit of canola oil still stuck in there. So I think what we might have to do here is allow some more canola oil in really quickly just to hopefully get this to actually disperse. I don't know quite how much of that we're going to need because it looks like it uses a set amount of canola oil that for some reason doesn't go away when it's like it doesn't use that last little bit of canola oil. I wonder if there's any way to get rid of that. Can I like craft this into... Oh, I can. So can I do this? Oh, there we go. Okay, so now it's producing 100 redstone flux per tick as opposed to the previous 40 redstone flux per tick, using the exact same oil that we were using before, but now it's going through this fermenting barrel, which is essentially turning all of our canola oil into normal oil for free. There is no power requirement here. It just requires a little bit of time, which is pretty great. And so now we should be able to run both the crusher and the powered furnace simultaneously with all the power we're getting from the oil generator, and we might even be able to upgrade our crusher to a double crusher at some point in the near future, which does exactly what you'd think it does. It doubles the amount of ores that you can crush at any given time, and making it look a lot more like the powered furnace on the inside, where you can crush 2 ores simultaneously, which will be pretty nice, but that is for another episode. For now, what I want to start working on in today's episode is I want to start working on automatic mining, and for that, we are going to make ourselves a vertical digger, which is another block from Actually Editions, which kind of works like a mini quarry. It will mine in a 5x5 area around the vertical digger, kind of straight down through to bedrock. And for this, we need 4 more iron casing, which we made last episode. It's just some iron, some sticks, and some more of that black quartz, as well as 3 blocks of redstone, 1 drill, which looks quite complicated, but for the most part is just dropping items in front of the atomic reconstructor. For example, these diamantine crystals are just diamonds with 60 RF in the atomic reconstructor, or in front of the atomic reconstructor, and the same is true for most of the items in the recipe here. Now, The interesting bit about the recipe for the vertical digger is this block in the middle, the empowered void crystal block, which you may have guessed is made by crafting together 9 empowered void crystals. Now, these are interesting because they're made in the Empowerer, which is another mechanic added by Actually Editions, which allows you to kind of infuse one item with multiple other items as well as a little bit of power to make a different item. A little bit like infusion crafting from Thorncraft or from Draconic Evolution, but in its kind of own unique way. So for this, we need to get 1 void crystal, which is quite simply just a piece of coal in front of the atomic reconstructor, infused with some charcoal, an ink sac, some flint, and a piece of stone. So if we click on the little manual here, it'll take us to the Actual Editions manual where it tells you all about the Empowerer and how it works. So the Empowerer is fairly easy to craft, it's not too bad. And then the display stand, which is also fairly easy to make, is where we put all the items that we're going to infuse into our main item. And so for this recipe, we're going to need 1 Empowerer and 4 display stands. I'm not quite sure if there are any recipes that require more than 4 display stands. I haven't looked that far into it, but for the time being, we need 4 of these and 1 of the basic Empowerers. So we should probably start with the display stands because we also need a display stand for the Empowerer. If I press U here, you can see we need 1 to make the Empowerer, and so we need 5 of these display stands. These are made with 3 aesthetic quartz. This is made, you guessed it, by putting a block of quartz in front of the atomic reconstructor. Starting to see a bit of a pattern here when it comes to Actually Editions. And then for the aesthetic green block, we need a chiseled quartz block again in front of the atomic reconstructor, which you can make fairly easily by either crafting 2 quartz slabs together or by simply putting a normal quartz block into the chisel from the chisel mod and allowing it to just craft up into the chiseled quartz there. And then finally, we need the advanced coil, which you're familiar with from last episode. It's just some golden nuggets, as well as more of the redstone crystals and the black quartz. So let's get started here real quick. I did do a bunch more mining, mostly down at around Y level 12 between episodes, because I was looking mainly for lapis, redstone, and gold. And you'll see why I wanted those specifically a little bit later on in today's episode. And also, before I forget, one thing that I did forget to mention in the last episode is that when they released the mod pack, Feed the Beast released an image showing how they'd reorganized all of the ore generation in the overworld. I'll put a link down in the description below, but if you want to know where in the overworld you can find certain ores, you can check out that image and it'll tell you where in the overworld those spawn. For the most part, some of the ores are the same. You know, diamonds you're still going to find kind of lower down. Iron is still kind of found all over, with things like copper still spawning quite high up. But if you want the specific Y levels, you can check out that in the description below. It made finding certain ores a lot easier for me, at least. So let me come around here. I'm just going to quickly zap a stack of redstone here because we need a ton of this stuff throughout basically Actually Editions. We need loads of it. And so let me go ahead and just zap that. There we go. Good stuff. I did get a bunch more nether quartz between episodes as well. We got 2 and a bit stacks up here. And so let me quickly go ahead and craft a few of those into blocks. How many blocks are we going to need here? We need 6 per stand. We need 5 stands. That's 30 blocks. And so we are going to have to use 2 stacks of nether quartz. This setup is pretty expensive, but hopefully it will be worth it once we have it all up and running. And so half of this just needs to be zapped on its own. So I will take those 15, throw them down right about here, give that a quick zap. There we go, good stuff, good stuff. And then finally, the other stuff needs to be put through the chisel. We could do it the slab way, but I think the chisel way is probably going to be just a little bit easier. And so all we got to do is take our normal blocks of quartz, stick them in there, and we are after the first one here, the chiseled quartz. We don't quite need 16, but that is fine. And then finally, I think that's pretty much it. We are a little bit low on nether quartz here. We're going to have to use pretty much all of our remaining nether quartz on making some more of this black quartz. I'm not going to go too crazy and make like 32. I'm not going to make it all into black quartz straight away, just on the off chance that we need some more nether quartz a little bit later on today. But for now, let's go ahead, and we only really, I think, need to craft up 5 of these for now. And again, I don't want to go too crazy because we are a little bit low when it comes to nether quartz. But what we can do is we can grab some of these golden ingots, we can craft those up into our golden nuggets, and then we should be good to go ahead and turn all of those into advanced coils and go ahead and make almost all of these. Oh, yep, I completely forgot that I have to go ahead and zap the chiseled quartz here in front of the atomic reconstructor. There we go. I'm not quite sure why that turned them green, but we can now come back over to the crafting station and make ourselves 5 of these display stands, one of which we are now going to use in making the Empowerer, this guy over here. This thing, again, all fairly familiar stuff. We need another redstone crystal, 2 blocks of iron casing. All we're missing there is some sticks and, of course, some iron. We're going to need 16 sticks for the 4 iron blocks. Iron we have in quite a nice amount of abundance right now, which is pretty good. Let's go ahead and make 2 of those. And then finally, we also need a double battery. This is made with a single battery. And once we've got all of that, we can craft that all up into our Empowerer. And now we should have everything it takes to go ahead and make some of these empowered crystals. So, I think for the time time being, I'm going to put the Empower down right about here, and then I think, if I'm not mistaken, after reading the manual, these need to be placed 2 blocks away from the Empower in each direction. So now I think about it, I don't think there are going to be any recipes that require more than 4 display stands, but I still could be wrong about that. So now that we've got all this set up, we need to provide each of these display stands with enough power to infuse the charcoal, or whatever it's called. Let me quickly get up the vertical digger here. This thing, what are we making? We're making the empowered void crystals, and so in order to empower the normal void crystals, all 4 display stands need to have the correct items as well as enough power to make it work. Now, it does say in the manual here that it requires a large amount of RF, or a lot of RF, in order to get this to work, but from my experience, you don't actually need all that much redstone flux inside of these display stands to allow them to infuse. And so what we're going to do, we're going to come back. Let me quickly grab some coal here. We're going to go ahead and zap at least 9 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of coal, so we can get the crystals. Kapow. You do want to make sure you use charcoal and not normal coal. In a single player world, I made the mistake of trying to put normal coal onto the stands. It does not work at all. We'll throw them in there. The stone will become apparent in a little bit here, why we've made 2 stacks of stone. I think we do already have a couple of ink sacks in here. We got 3 ink sacks. We got 2 flint. We do have a little bit more gravel, so we can go ahead and craft all of that up into some more flint. What I'm going to do here, guys, I'm going to go away real quick. I'm going to make a couple more coal generators. I'm going to put 1 coal generator next to each one of these display stands. The reason why I'm using coal generators is because they're cheaper than making more of these energy laser relays, which are a little bit expensive for the time being. So I'll probably move maybe this coal generator and then make 3 more for the display stand. I'm also going to get all of the ink sacks and the flint that we need, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so not too long later, we now have all of the coal generators as well as all of the items that we need to infuse, or to empower even, our void crystals here. And so now all we're going to do, we're going to place down our void crystal in the center. I don't think it matters which way around you put these, as long as you put all of them down. And I did forget to get out my charcoal, which should be done over here. It is. We've only got 8, so let me quickly go ahead and smelt up 1 more of those real quick. Whilst we are waiting, let's go and throw down our first piece of charcoal on this stand right about here. And then let's get these coal generators up and running as well with a little bit of coal. Thankfully, we do have a fair bit lying around, which is nice. So if we throw some in here, like I said before, I don't think that we really need all that much power in order to get this show on the road. So that should be enough. There we go. It's going to zap them. It's using up the power that's been given to it. And any second now, kapow! Look at that. We now have 1 empowered void crystal. Nice. And so, what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm going to do the exact same thing 8 more times, and I'll be back in a second. And there we go. Not too long later, that is the final void crystal that has been empowered. And so, now if we head on back over to our crafting station, we can craft all of those up into a block of empowered void crystals. And now we should have everything it takes to make our vertical digger. So I've gone ahead and already made all of the iron casing. I've also got all of the redstone ready for the 3 redstone blocks. And I've also got most of the items ready for the drill here. I've already got all the advanced coils and everything ready, almost everything ready, I should say, to make the drill core here. All we need to do is create the 5 crystal blocks as well as the 3 diamantine crystals. So let me grab 3 diamonds from this chest, as well as just a little bit more iron from over here. We need, I think, 7 blocks worth of iron to make this happen. Now, I did mention last episode that doing it in block form does make it a little bit more expensive power-wise, but for the sake of convenience, we are going to go ahead and do something. Actually, yeah, for the sake of convenience, we'll go ahead and do it like that. Although we could have just dropped the stack on the floor and it would have worked just as fine. That gets us the 7 crystal blocks. And then finally, all we have to do is throw those on the floor, give it a quick zap, and kapow. We should now have everything we need to make the vertical digger. Let's go ahead and craft up the drill first. Drill core is 4 of those blocks with some redstone crystals and some more of those coils. And then I think that's about it. It is. Nice. So this drill is actually pretty cool. And what I'll probably end up doing between episodes is making another one of these for me to use in replacement of my normal pickaxe. Right now I've been using just peridot pickaxes because we get quite a lot of emeralds down in the mines and stuff like iron pickaxes. But I think I will probably end up getting one of these simply because they're rechargeable and also they're upgradable, kind of like a lot of the stuff in Tinker's Construct. If we go over to, or if we type in just drill into JEI over here, we got a bunch of upgrades. We can make 3 different speed upgrades: the tier 1, the tier 2, and the tier 3 drill speed augments. We can also make a silk touch augment. We can make 2 fortune augments as well as 2 mining kind of area of effect augments. This one makes it mine in a 3x3 area, and this one makes it mine in a 5x5 area. And then finally, we've got the drill block placing augment, which I believe allows us to right-click and place down items that are adjacent to the drill in the inventory, although that is the only one that I haven't tested, and so that might be wrong. Don't take my word on that, but it's pretty cool. It's got 5 slots in it, so you can't quite put all of the upgrades in, but you can put in, for example, all 3 speed upgrades in, as well as the... also, I should mention that in order to use, for example, the tier 3 speed augment, you need to have in the tier 1 and the tier 2 speed augments, and so we would have to have all 3 of those in, and the same goes for the fortune upgrades, as well as the area of effect upgrades. In order to upgrade it to a 5x5 area, you first have to have the 3x3 area upgrade already in the drill for it to work, and so with those 5 slots, we could have in all 3 speed upgrades, and then, for example, a 3x3 and 5x5 area upgrade to make a really cool, really fast drill that can mine the 5x5 area very quickly. But I also might switch that up, for example, to get fortune instead, especially because we're about to make ourselves the vertical miner, which is going to do a lot of our mining for us, hopefully a lot of our mining for us going forward here. So this thing is pretty expensive power-wise, but like I mentioned before, it works in a 5x5 area. Let me go ahead and throw it down just over here, like so. We open it up. It's got 2 modes. Right now, it is on mine everything mode. If you leave it on mine everything mode, it will just create like a big hollow pillar that goes from here all the way down to bedrock. It will pick everything up, and it will just leave a big empty zone where the earth used to be. Or you could switch it up to the only mining ores mode, which, as you can probably assume, only mines ores and leaves all of the dirt, the cobblestone, all that kind of stuff just kind of where it is and doesn't really visually affect the earth whatsoever. And I'm probably going to use this just so we don't end up with just massive holes all over the place. If we do need a lot of dirt or cobblestone, we'll probably go over to the mining dimension and move this thing over when we need it. But for the time being, we're going to leave it right here. And so now we need to do 2 things. We need to first of all power this, which is going to prove a little bit tricky. Again, if we go over here and we click on the actual editions manual, we can read it, and you'll see that it uses 1,500 redstone flux when it mines an item, which is quite a lot of power. And I don't necessarily know if we have that much power lying around right now, but we can test it out. We can make ourselves some more of these energy laser relays. We need some more anyway for the canola press now that we don't have the coal generator sat there in the middle. So let me see here real quick. Do we have what it takes to make some more of these energy laser relays? We should. I'm fairly certain we have 4 obsidian left over from last time. We do. We got enough to make all the redstone blocks, and we also most certainly have what it takes to make the advanced coil here in the middle. So let me go ahead and craft up one of those real quick. Same old story, and we've seen a million times. Kabing and kaboom. We'll take 2 of those and then craft all that up to make ourselves 4 more of these energy laser relays. For now, I'm going to put one of those here and connect them like so, and then we'll put down the other one all the way over here. And this is kind of where these lasers really shine, because you're allowed up to a 15 block distance between each relay, and so you can just have a line of these going quite far out into the distance, making it real easy to transfer energy, power, and energy and power are the same thing, making it real easy to transfer energy, items, and fluids long distances with this stuff. But enough of that. Let me go ahead and just connect those 2 up like so. That should start receiving power, and that is going to start mining ores only. It's going pretty quickly. I think that's because we had power backed up in our oil generator. You can see that it is instantly tanked through all of the redstone flux that we have in there. Right now, we are full up on oil. We're kind of bottlenecked a little bit by the barrel here, but you'll see that it has slowed down quite a bit. And so the next thing that I want to work on in today's episode, actually, before we do that, one thing that I do want to do is quickly zap these 2 here, because I would like to also have the vertical digger automatically send all of its ores right back through and into this chest here. Is that not how that's done? Hold on. Give it a zap. That should turn them into fluid laser relays, and then if we zap them again, we should get the item laser relays, if I'm not mistaken. Let me try that. There we go. Okay, so now we've got these. Let me go ahead and throw down 1 here, and then 1 up here. And actually, this is not going to work. I would like it if the mod worked like this, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, this is not quite how the transfer works, because we could put this here, and we could use our wrench like this and like this, but unfortunately, that's not going to transfer the items from this vertical digger into this chest. Instead, what we have to do is, if I go to actually additions, we need to make ourselves one of these item interfaces, which are fairly easy to make. Again, it's more of the same stuff. We're getting a lot of lasers kind of all over the place here. It's kind of becoming a bit of a disco show, and also we are going to need some more of this black quartz, which we are very, very quickly running out of. I thought I'd got more than enough nether quartz for the entire episode, but it looks like we are running out pretty quickly here, but we should have enough, I think, to make all of those. We need a little bit more of these redstonia crystals. and then we can make the item interface. And so this is what's going to allow us to transfer our items. We're going to get rid of this chest, and I believe now if I put down the item interface right about there, it should begin. There we go, you can hear it coming through. It should begin sending all of the items from here, round and through, into the item interface. We can't quite, there's no interface in the item interface, you can't right click on it, but it's taking all the items and putting it into inventories that are next to it. In our case, it's putting it into this hopper here. Now, at the moment, that's working fine. I don't think that coal is going to be able to go into the crusher. Oh, it is. So that's going to be a bit of an issue. What we're probably going to have to do then in that case is something like this. Hold on here. If we get rid of this and we get rid of this, what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to put our chest back here. I think if I put the, it's in here, isn't it? I think if I put this here, it's not going to work. I think I have to have a hopper going from the item interface and then into the chest, although I could be wrong about that. Let me quickly give that a test. Does that send items over? Only one way to find out. If I put that in there, that does not send it over. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have items go from the vertical miner through into an item interface, then via a hopper or some other form of item transfer into a chest, and then have those items filtered out from there to make sure that only the ores end up in the crusher and everything else ends up probably over here in our small storage crate, which is very quickly becoming full. So we might have to upgrade that to a medium or a large storage crate, but I'll work on this at some point in another video. For now, I want to work on the power situation, because as you can see, this thing is going excruciatingly slow right now. It's not getting us any ores whatsoever, and so despite my love of this oil generator, we're going to have to up our power game pretty substantially if we want this thing to be able to run at any kind of a decent speed. And for that, we're going to move over to a mod called Environmental Tech, which you may be familiar with if you've played around in Sky Factory 3, and we're going to make ourselves, hopefully, a tier 1 solar panel. So if we go into our small storage crate, you start with the digital guide from Environmental Tech. It's in your inventory when you spawn into the world, and if we open this up and we click on solar array, solar arrays are multi-block generators that generate energy from the sun. And if we click over the page here, the tier 1 solar array can produce up to 648 redstone flux per tick, over 6 times as much as we're producing right now. And for this, we need 16 structure blocks, tier 1 or above, 9 solar cells, and 4 modifier cores, or any upgraded version of the modifier cores. We'll get into modifiers a little bit later on down the line, but for now, let's take a look at these tier 1 structure blocks. These are fairly easy to make. It's 2 gold, 2 redstone, and then 1 hardened stone, which is made with 4 cobblestone and 5 stone, which is why I smelted up so much stone between episodes, and also why I've kept quite so much cobblestone in my small storage crate. So we're going to need 16 of these. I think, yeah, we should have more than enough to make all of that happen. Let's go ahead and craft all of those. And now all we need is 32 gold as well as 32 redstone. Actually, we got 31 there for whatever reason, and we'll also take 32 redstone as well, and really easily craft all that up into the 16 hardened stone structure blocks. I think we're also going to need 1 more of those, however, and I'll show you why we need that a little bit later on in today's episode. Let me go and just quickly whip up 1 more of these. There we go. Now that that's done, we need to make ourselves some of the solar cells, these guys over here. For this, we need, I think, 9 of them for the actual multi-block itself, but we also need to make 1 for the solar panel controller. It doesn't list it as a requirement in the guide here, but you do need the controller in order to make the rest of the block, and this one also requires a solar cell, so we need to make 10 of these solar cells, which is why I focus so much on getting lapis between episodes, because we are going to need probably almost all of this to make this work. So if we open this up here, in order to make this, we are going to have to make some glass, actually, which I don't think I have. I have to cut away to smelt up some glass, but we need to make 3 photovoltaic cells for every solar cell, and then we need 10 solar cells, so we need 30 of these photovoltaic cells, and each one requires nether quartz as well as 4 lapis lazuli. We should have enough lapis to do this. However, we don't have enough nether quartz or enough glass, and so what I'm going to do, guys, real quick, I'm going to go away. I'm going to get all the stuff we need to make all of these solar cells, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so a little while later, I went to the nether. I got just shy of a stack of nether quartz. I also, before I went to the nether, got some sand, started smelting it into some glass before I realized when I was looking at the recipe for these solar cells here that we need clear glass from environmental tech, not just normal glass. Clear glass is made by smelting enriched sand, and you guessed it, enriched sand requires nether quartz. And so, what I'm going to do real quick here, guys, is I'm going to make the 46 enriched sand that we need, and then start smelting it into the 46 glass that we need. And I'm also going to have to go away and do some more mining in the nether for some more nether quartz, because I think we need 40, yeah, I think 46 is the correct amount. We need 30 for all of the solar cells, and then 16 for all of the modifier cores. But then, of course, we now need more nether quartz for all of the photovoltaic cells. And so, again, I'm going to go away, guys. I'm going to get some more quartz. I'm going to smelt up all of the enriched sand. And also, actually, really quickly, before I go, I've been eating these blueberries to stay alive, just because they're right here next to where my base is. I'm very quickly going to craft myself up a juicer from Pam's Harvest Craft, just so we can turn our blueberries into blueberry juice, which increases the amount of hunger and saturation that they fill significantly. If I just quickly grab one of these, you can see that a normal blueberry fills up just under one leg of hunger and also a little bit of saturation, whereas the blueberry juice fills up almost 3 legs of hunger and then almost 6 full legs of saturation there, making it much more efficient. And the juicer doesn't run out, it doesn't break, doesn't have any durability. A little bit OP, but I'm going to be drinking this stuff from now on. Again, I'm going to go away and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so again, not too long later, we now have some more nether quartz as well as 2 lots of 23 of clear glass. And so, I'm fairly certain now that we should be able to make everything that we need here. So I don't want to accidentally make 46 of those. We only need 30 of these photovoltaic cells, so I will take all of those and keep the rest of the nether quartz for later on. All the clear glass is done. Redstone and iron, I believe we have in abundance. Let me just quickly grab a stack of redstone there so we can make all of the solar cells that we need. Now that we've got those, the final things that we're going to need are the modifier cores. We need 4 of these. These are made with blocks of iron, clear glass, and stone. We should still have some stone left over. We do. Blocks of iron are super duper easy. And so if we quickly grab some more iron and craft all that up, that's going to get us the blocks. And then we can go ahead and make the 4 modifier cores. That is everything we need to make. Actually, no, it's not. We need the actual tier 1 solar panel controller itself. This is made with that last solar cell, 4 blocks of lapis and 4 blocks of gold, making it just a little bit on the expensive side, which again is why we needed so much lapis and why I spent so much time mining down at the lower levels and focusing on lapis and gold between episodes here. Do we have enough? We do, only just about enough though to get all of the golden blocks there. That is going to get us the tier 1 solar panel controller, and now to actually assemble it all, we need the assembler. This thing is the reason why we needed 1 more of those hardened stone structure blocks, although looking at this, it looks like we need a tier 2 version of the structure block, which requires 2 diamonds, which we have. Woo! Flipping heck. I thought that we were out of luck there. I thought I was going to have to postpone this or go and mine to try and get 1 more diamond. Thankfully, we do not, and I can go ahead and grab a couple more pieces of obsidian. We need 2 more of those to go ahead and craft up the assembler. And now that we've got this, we should finally be able to make this tier 1 solar panel. So, for now, I guess I can put it like right about here. I might move it at some point because it is pretty big. It is a multi-block. Thankfully, you don't have to put all the blocks in the right place. All you have to do is get the assembler and then right-click repeatedly, and it will put down all of the blocks for you around this. Unfortunately, I think you have to be underneath it to make this work, because you have to constantly right-click on the center block, this controller, and you can't really do that from the top because it covers it up. So let's go ahead and hold down right-click. That's going to go and put all those down, and you will get a notification in the chat there saying that the multi-block assembly is complete. And so now we can go ahead and do something like this. And now finally, the last piece of the puzzle, I'm going to make a capacitor bank. This is a block from Ender.io that allows us to see how much power is being generated by this solar cell, and also allows us to store some of the excess power that is being produced as well. It's some iron, some basic capacitors, which are some copper ingots, some redstone, and some golden nuggets. Copper, we have a little bit in abundance. I don't know if I can say in abundance just yet. We got a little bit when it comes to copper. So let's go and make 4 of these capacitors. Accidentally made 5, but that will not go to waste. A block of redstone, super duper easy stuff, and that should be everything we need. Almost. Apparently, we are missing just a couple of ingots worth of iron to make ourselves the basic capacitor, which can hold up to 1,000,000 redstone flux. And so I'm going to put this down right about there. If we open it up and hover over here on the left, it's going to be higher than 648 to start with because there will have been a little bit of redstone flux built up inside of the internal storage of the solar cell. But now you can see that our solar panel is producing 648 redstone flux per tick, which is fantastic. I don't think, unfortunately, we don't have any more of these relays, so I'm just going to very quickly here, we'll make some more of these either between episodes or at the start of next episode, but I'm just going to very quickly move this over to here so that we can see just how well this vertical miner works with the power from the new solar panel that we've got. You can see up at the top there, it is gaining power faster than we're losing it, and so now it's working much quicker at pulling all of the ores out from the ground, which is fantastic. And with that, guys, I'm going to end today's episode of Feed the Beast Beyond there. Next time, we'll come back, we'll try and sort this out, because this thing is a bit of a mess when it comes to actually organizing our ores and automatically getting them into the crusher and then sorting everything else into its own respective place. But already, it's starting to pay for itself. We got 34 more lapis and an extra diamond already, which is fantastic. We do have to worry a little bit about what's going to happen when the night falls, because this thing does, of course, only work in the day. But we do have this nice 1 million redstone flux kind of buffer that we can work with during the night. We can also sleep through the night if things become too bad. But like I said, guys, with that, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit like. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And be sure to hit that bell next to the subscription button to be notified as soon as new videos go up. You'll be the first ones here. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.